Sports Talk. Let's go.
What up? What up? How's everybody doing? It's me, your boy Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk, in the house. It's Tuesday, man. So you know what that means. It's NFL matchups, man. We got one game left, man. One game to talk about. It's crazy that there's one big game left to culminate this whole season. But we're not going to talk about that game today. We're going to talk about a couple other things. I want to talk about Sean Payton and his mismanagement of that game on Sunday against the New England Patriots. I'll share my thoughts on that. Sam Darnold on his redemption tour. I have to give him some credit, man. I gotta apologize. So I'll eat some crow here in the next couple minutes, but we'll talk about him. And then finally, what the hell were the Pittsburgh Steelers thinking about when they hired Mike McCarthy? Some people think it's a good hire. Some people don't. I'm in the majority that think it's not a great hire. So I'll share my thoughts on that. And of course, we're going to be talking about anything else that happens in the chat section, in the comments, or anything that comes up to my mind pertaining to the National Football League. So if you love NFL action, then you are in the right place at the right time. This is NFL Matchups with me, Ryan Flowers. Let's get things popping. Let's go.
We're going to be here all day, baby. I like this kind of party. Baby.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Hope you guys are doing all right, man. If it's your first time watching, appreciate you, man. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You see that there below. Also, hit me up on the Grid Network as well as on TikTok and Instagram. I'm actually streaming live on TikTok right now. So if you're one of the people watching on TikTok, man, drop a follow, drop a like and a share. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, man, also drop a comment. Let me know what you guys are up to and your week is going all right so far. But lots to get into as usual, man. Again, like I said before the top of the show, this is it. Like, it's come down to one game. Seattle Seahawks versus New England Patriots to decide it all. But we're not going to talk about that today. I know we usually talk about the matchups going into the week of that game, but guess what? There's no matchup this week, right? So we'll have plenty of time to talk about that, especially next week as we get ready for this actual Super Bowl. But today, I want to talk about Sean Payton, Sam Darnold, and Mike McCarthy hire in Pittsburgh because why not? It's NFL matchup. So let's just get straight into it. So recapping the game between the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos, the Patriots prevailed 10-7 in one of the most strangest games I've ever seen from a weather standpoint. It's funny how that game began. It was very picturesque. The grass was looking green. Yeah, it was cold. It's Denver, of course, right? But as the game progressed, you didn't see the field anymore. Like the commentators had a hard time. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo had a hard time trying to locate the football on the field. Just a wild game. If people that listen to me that I was mentioning to people, you need to take the under in that game. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was right. They came in well under that. I think the over under was like 42 or 43, something crazy like that, which is I don't mind boggling to me when you have a guy that's haven't started in 2 years and going against a team that had to travel on the road. And don't get me wrong, the Patriots have a pretty good offense, I would say, but the Denver's defense was pretty good, and you factor in the weather. But that's neither here or there. I'm here to talk about Sean Payton and the decision to go for it on 4th and 1 instead of taking the points. In the end, it ended up costing. Now, there's a bunch of other things that maybe factored into that game. But I don't get it, man. Like I'm watching these games from week to week, and it seems like more often than not now these coaches are starting to forego the 4th down. They're going for it instead of maybe taking the points, right? And in this situation, and chat, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the score, was it 0-0 at that point, I think, when they decided not to go for it on the 4th and 1, and then they didn't get it anyway. So hypothetically, because later on they scored a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, they could have been up 10-0 in an AFC Conference Championship game with your backup quarterback ahead. If you were to tell any Denver Broncos fan at that point in time, you would be up 10 points at home, knowing the weather was going to get bad, you probably would take that. But again, it's all half glass full, whatever the case may be. But they lost by 3, and I'm not saying they would have won the game, right? But because maybe the Patriots would have done something on their own, right? And got maybe more points. But there was a clip of Mike Vrabel. I believe he was talking to his team like this is like maybe later in the game when the weather was really bad, and he was just like, "Man, we're going to run the football, we're going to play smart, et cetera, et cetera." And to me, that's how you got to play it. That's how you got to play it. And Sean Payton did it, and he decided to go for it with your backup quarterback. You didn't get it. Should have taken the points, but now you're seeing the Dan Campbells, the Ben Johnsons. Who else is going for it? Sean McVay, right? It's like a new era of coaches that don't believe in it, and it's crazy to me. And I get analytics does play a big part in these games now, but sometimes it's kind of like common sense to me, man. And I think in a game that was going to be tightly contested, in a game in which you didn't have your starting quarterback, you had an opportunity to go up double digits, and you did it, and you failed. And I'm not saying they would have kicked the field goal, they would have went on this run, who knows? But general wisdom or general conventional wisdom, would say you got to take the points, right? And they did it. And I think that really was indicative of how this game ended, right? Because you got to know that I know they were talking about Stidham, he's really good. Peyton believes in him and yada, yada, yada. I mean, the guy hadn't started in 2 years. And then you're thrusting him into this big game, biggest game of his career by far. And of course, on top of that, he's going to make mistakes too because he's a backup. It's the reason why he's the backup and Bo Nix was the starter. So I don't know, man. I think, in the end, that was a super missed opportunity. When you look on the other side of the field, Mike Vrabel, who's played in a lot of games, right? Who's been a member in some tough, close games, probably involving weather similar to this. And probably was like, you know what? Second half, let's just not do anything stupid. And they did it. And they ended up winning the game, not because they just were just so far superior than the Denver Broncos. It's just they didn't have any turnovers, and they played the game smart. Where Sean Payton, again, early in the game, he just poorly mismanaged it. And in the end, now his team is at home when they probably felt that maybe they probably could have been playing in the Super Bowl. Now, granted, as a consumer, I'd rather have this matchup than having Denver in it. And it's not even no hate on Denver. It's just the fact that I don't want to see Stidham in the Super Bowl. I really don't. Appreciate everyone in the likes or in the chat here on TikTok, man. Make sure you guys get those likes up. Got a comment here from Ben. He says, blame Dan Campbell for coaches going for fourth down. Yeah, exactly. And look where that's gotten them. It's like they don't learn this stuff. Analytics will tell you if you do that dumb shit, you're going to end up losing the game. And there was really no reason to do it. Like, it was early in the game. You literally took points off the board. And on top of that, the play section, I believe it was like a pass. Like, this is your backup quarterback. You better hand that damn football off and get a yard. And they didn't do that. So a lot of overthinking, just situational awareness just is not great. And it's funny because Sean Payton is a Super Bowl winning coach. He's coached a lot of big games, and you would just think like that would take over. And but it didn't. It didn't. And so it's not all on him, but there was an opportunity there. Like I said a couple minutes ago, if you were to tell me the Denver Broncos would have been up 10-0 at home with your backup quarterback, you're probably going to take that. You're probably going to take that. And they didn't. And they ended up losing. And it really didn't boil down to talent. It just, they made more mistakes. Right? The coaching mistake, you got that weird backwards pass thing that Stidham was trying to do, and that ended up costing them the moment and in reality, the game. So what can you do? What can you do? So they had a great season, number 1 seed. Can't say you'll be back because it's hard to do that. There's not a lot of teams running around like the Patriots or the Chiefs that are just perennial at this thing. We'll see. We'll see. A lot's going to be said going into the offseason and next year, what the Denver Broncos will do and how they bounce back. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right. Let's talk about Sam Darnold, man. I got to apologize to him. I've been shitting on him all year. I ain't gonna lie, man. I mean, listen, I like Seattle as a team. I like Seattle as a team. I thought they were one of the most complete teams. Now, I did pick the Rams to win, and it was a good game. And And me picking the Rams it doesn't say that I don't like the Seahawks. I just thought the Rams were going to outlast them. Quarterback play, yada, yada, yada. But shout out to Sam Darnold, man. I got to give my props where props to do. He played really well. He looked like an elite superstar. Now, I'm not going to call him like he's the next elite quarterback, but he looked elite for that night, at least for sure. Like, we've seen glimpses of him do that. He protected the football. He made really great throws. The play calling was excellent. Now, both defenses were pretty shit, but hey, that's not his fault. Like, he's got to do what he's got to do, and he did a great job. So, for all the shit I've talked about Sam Darnold not getting it done, if it's a big game, he's gonna choke. He didn't, man. He stepped up big time, and now he's gonna be playing for a Vince Lombardi Trophy here in the next couple weeks or so. So, shout out to him. And it is a nice story because it's a little bit of redemption, right? When he was drafted by the Jets, I believe, what was it, 2017, 2018, something like that. Has it been that long? I'm tripping. Is it 2017? One of those years. I forget. He went to the Jets. It didn't really pan out. I mean, granted, it doesn't really pan out for anybody that plays for that organization, unfortunately, especially the quarterback position. Bounced around, went to Carolina, didn't work out there. He sat in San Francisco. He got to listen and listen to Kyle Shanahan and go through that. Then he goes to Minnesota, has the great 1 year. And then he gets the contract in Seattle. And shout out to Seattle for trusting that. Like, in their gut, they were like, we're going to pay this guy. We're going to pay this guy. And shit, they're in the Super Bowl. It looks like money spent well, or money well spent. You don't think Minnesota would have loved to have this guy back in Minnesota right now? I think they would. I think they definitely would. So, it just goes to show that, especially in the National Football League or just in life, man, it doesn't matter where you start. It's how you finish. It's how you get back off the mat. And Sam Darnold is a testament to that. And I think his time in San Francisco really helped him mature and to become the quarterback that I think a lot of us saw in him when he came out of USC. And it also just goes to show, when you go to a shit organization or a shit situation in your life and you're surrounded by toxicity or incompetent people, it's hard to overcome those things. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. It's just that some things you just can't overcome. And he aligned himself with really good organizations in San Francisco, even Minnesota, and then finally Seattle, a team that has a winning culture, and look where they are today. And to me, that is the epitome of growth. And so shout out to him. Shout out to him, what he was able to endure, especially in New York. And maybe some of the stuff that he learned in New York helped change him too. Even though it was a lot of negativity, didn't have the support that he needed. But he's, the job's not done yet, as Kobe would say, job not done. Job not done. You have a formidable team, which we'll talk about that matchup next week. I won't get into that too much tonight, but shout out to him. So what do you guys think, man? Is it fair to say in the comment section, is Sam Darnold an elite quarterback? Now, I know I've gone on social media. I've seen people calling him elite. I am not ready to say he's elite yet. But this is 2 years. Well, this is his first year now, really, as a starting quarterback that he really was pretty clutch in one of the biggest games. I thought the biggest game of his career. The only other big game that I can remember him playing in of a certain magnitude was against Penn State in that Rose Bowl. I believe it was his last year at USC. You go and throw that tape on. The throws that he made in that game, it was like me watching that again on Sunday night when he was playing the Rams. I mean, Matthew Stafford played his ass off too, and they were just going back at it, throw for throw for throw. Okay? Now, I'll talk about the game here in itself. I mean, listen. The Rams, at the end of the day, they fell because a part of it was the special teams. And to me, that muffed fumble that resulted in a touchdown later on was kind of the difference, because it kind of gave Seattle just a little bit of a bump that the Rams needed to overcome. And they just ran out of time at the end of the day, because their defense wasn't stopping them and Seattle's defense wasn't stopping the Rams. Now, I know the Rams have been plagued with special teams problems throughout the season. I believe they fired their special teams coach like halfway through the year. For those who don't think special teams is not important, and I hate to say this, but you don't really understand football, because special teams is a very vital point in this game, right? You look at Seattle, flip side of them, of the Rams. Special teams is legit. Block field goals, punt return for touchdowns, right? It matters. You pick up a guy like, what's his name? Rashid Shaheed, is that his name? He's a weapon. He's a weapon in the game. You know, and you know the Rams. A lot will. Someone asked me, "What do you think about the Rams next year?" It depends on the quarterback, right? If Matthew Stafford gives it one more go, then I will say that they have a chance. I mean, listen, Puka Nacua is a stud, and Seattle didn't even have an answer for him. One of the most vaunted defenses in the National Football League had no answer for Puka Nacua. I think he had over 140 something yards, a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, right? Matthew Stafford was wheeling and dealing out there on Sunday, but they just fell short. The mistakes. Another area I think that kind of gets a little overshadowed a little bit towards the end, the decision to go for it on 4th and 4 instead of maybe kicking the field goal when you're down 4, and you know maybe your defense gets you the ball back. And all you need is a field goal to go for the win. They end up going for it. They don't get it. Their defense they finally get a stop, but with like 25 seconds left. They get the ball back, 25 seconds left. At that point, you need a touchdown with no timeouts, and you got to go 80 yards. Like, now granted that they probably would have been hard. It would have been just as hard to get a field goal too, but I feel like you could, as an NFL team, the way you've been operating so far in that game, you can probably get 50, 60 yards. That's my thinking. But again, these coaches going for it on 4th down. They need to come hire me. Like, I may not know all the X's and O's and whatnot, but I think I understand situations better than the average person, right? Because I was talking to someone on the phone that same day, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I don't know, man. I just don't get it." And sure enough, they got the ball back. They had a chance, right? If Puka got out of bounds on that last play, they would have been in field goal range, if I'm not mistaken. At least you would have had a shot. But essentially, when you don't go for it, your defense can't get off the field. You get the ball back 25 seconds. You need a touchdown, no timers. You got to go 80 yards. That's just common sense. You're not going to win that football game. So we'll see. All right. But Sam Darnold, man, listen, if he wins the Super Bowl, which I don't want to give away my pick, but I think, you know, it's a possibility. We got a question here in the chat. Let's get those likes up, man, before I get some more questions in here on TikTok. But he says, who's better, Prime Cam or Prime Lamar? I was a Cam Newton fan. I do like Cam Newton, but you know, I'm probably gonna go with Cam, because at least he made a Super Bowl, right? He made a Super Bowl. Field goal want enough? What does that mean? Well, yeah, at that time it wasn't going to be enough because they were down 4. But what I was saying is that before that, it was 4th and 4. They went for it instead of kicking the field goal. They would have been down 1, and if they would have got the ball back with 25 seconds, they could have tried to make an attempt to maybe get in field goal range to kick a field goal to be down by 1. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah. So what's up, Mikey? He says Bills fire Sean to hire or promote Joe Brady. Screen on 3rd and 10, Brady. Yeah, he says Cam went to Super Bowl, Lamar did that. Yeah, that's exactly what I just said. I'll talk about that Joe Brady. I know a little bit about him. But I'll share my thoughts on that after I get done talking here about Mike McCarthy here. So, and then whatever questions you guys got in the chat room. So let's keep it going, guys. If you're watching on TikTok, man, appreciate you guys. Spam that like button, share the stream. Let's get some more people in here. Let's open up the floodgates. And if you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook, man, appreciate you guys. Get in the comment section too. Don't be shy. All right, Mike McCarthy, Pittsburgh Steelers. I just don't get it. I really don't. Some people think it's a good hire. To me, I feel like it's just like a lateral move. If you worked in corporate America, a lateral move is basically you're not a promotion. You're just kind of moving over to another business area. You're still getting the same pay, probably the same amount of workload. But to me, it's not a needle mover. That's my opinion. I feel like Mike McCarthy is almost basically Mike Tomlin. If you're looking for, because listen, okay, let's just back it up. For those who don't understand, I believe a couple of weeks ago, whenever Mike Tomlin had resigned, the owners came out and they were like, listen, we're committed to not rebuilding, right? We want to keep the things. And when you say that, automatically, my antennas go off. It just tells me that you consider yourself in a mode where you think you can possibly win a championship. Because when you're rebuilding, it's like you got to tear it down to build it back up. And I don't think the Steelers, from what I understand, they don't want to do that. And conventional wisdom, for those on the outside looking in, they need to do something, right? And Mike McCarthy, to me, was not the move. And I get it. He's a Super Bowl winning coach, but that was damn near over 10 years ago. Okay, he has some, and I'm a Cowboys fan. He had a decent stint with the Cowboys, right? But he couldn't get it going in the playoffs. The Cowboys, I believe, won the division twice when he was there. I think they made the playoffs more often than not when he was there, especially when the years if Dak wasn't hurt. So Lexington, I'll get to your question, man, but let's get the likes up going here. But Mike McCarthy, I don't know. He just feels like a 8, 9, 10 win coach. And I think if you're Pittsburgh, that's kind of what you've been doing anyway. And so for me, it goes back to the whole rebuilding. It's like I feel like they panicked. And number two, I think it was just a safe move. They didn't want to go out there and risk it on some young coordinator, some young hotshot. They were like, you know what? We'll get the guy that he's been around the block, because that's what we like in Pittsburgh. We're not looking to rebuild. And you look at the situation with Mike Tomlin when he was hired. I know some of you are not even old enough to remember this, because some of you guys are still probably drinking Similac when Mike Tomlin was first unveiled as the head coach. He was a young upstart kind of coach, right? But Mike Tomlin took over a really good roster, okay? It's not what Mike McCarthy's getting now, right? For starters, the quarterback situation. Even if it's Aaron Rodgers, do Pittsburgh Steelers fans really want to see that ran back again? I mean, honestly, is that something that you guys want to see? Because I sure don't. Aaron Rodgers is not. He needs to retire. Simple as that. Mike Tomlin took over. He got Ben Roethlisberger, right? A young Ben Roethlisberger. Mike McCarthy's coming in and is probably going to get Mason Rudolph, for Christ's sakes. To me, that's not. Then you look at the rest of the roster. It's aging. You got some old contracts. TJ Watt, hell of a player, first ballot Hall of Famer. But he's hurt. He's older. He don't have the same juice. Cameron Hayward, again. They invested money in DK Metcalf. I don't think he's a number one. So what exactly do you think? What does Mike McCarthy bring? For those Mike McCarthy fans, what did he bring to the table that Mike Tomlin didn't? I guess that's really, really the question we probably should be asking. Because I like Mike Tomlin. And I know Steeler fans, they hated on him. But guess what? You basically ran him out of town because he resigned. He was like, I'm good. He probably sat back and was like, this roster sucks. I can probably go to TV, make a shit ton of money, and then maybe come back a year from now and see what's available. Maybe there's a better situation with a quarterback that I can come in and do my thing with. Because at the end of the day, this has nothing to do with the coaching. Every time the Steelers have been relevant, it's why? Because they've had a quarterback. They've only had 3 coaches now 4, but prior to my brother, 3 coaches. Chuck Knox, who did he have as quarterback for the older generation? Terry Bradshaw, right? Terry Bradshaw. Bill Cowher. Now, he had a couple of guys, but when he won a Super Bowl, who did he win it with? Ben Roethlisberger, another Hall of Famer. Mike Tomlin takes over. Good roster. He won the Super Bowl with who? Ben Roethlisberger. And then for years, they've kind of been like, to me, the Pittsburgh Steelers are like the Israelites and Moses. They've just been wandering the desert, wandering for all these years. They're free, right? They don't have to worry about Ramses anymore, right? But they never get to the land of milk and honey until like years later, okay? And the land of milk and honey is finding a quarterback, and they still don't even have that. They thought bringing Aaron Rodgers would be great. It was okay, right? They still made the playoffs, right? But that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers brass is all about. They're not looking to strip it down to build it back up. They want to be very consistent. And for me, if I'm a fan, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I can do this shit again, man. I don't know if winning 9, 10 games and getting smoked in the playoffs is the thing. Like, why would I support that? And I know some people say, well, man, if you're a fan, and, you should root for your team. But I get that. But, man, if you're a fan, you invest a lot of hours, a lot of time. Your personal, emotional feelings get so wrapped up in it. You want your team to at least compete for a championship. And to me, that's not what this hire is. It's a feel safe type of hire. There are other guys. I mean, you mean to tell me you didn't kick the tires on Clint Kubiak if he was going to be available? Brian Daboll? Who else is out there? There's some other guys out there. You don't even kick the tires on those guys. You just go straight. Mike McCarthy, he's safe. We like him. And to me, they're just going to be stuck in purgatory. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers in essence. They are in football purgatory, wandering the desert until they can find something that fits for them. But it was a panic, scared hire, safe hire, not a championship hire. That's it. Simple as that. So, all right. Go back to some questions here on TikTok. If you're watching on YouTube, man, let me know. If not, I'll talk about Joe Brady here too. It says there was a question back. I hope Lexington, you're still here. But he said, if Roger Goodell and refs help with wins, what if coaches are involved also with bad plays? I mean, listen, when you're dealing with human beings, anything's possible. I don't think that. I'm not the one that think that the NFL is staged. That's just my opinion. Like, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I'm not going to even try to convince you that's what you think. I don't believe that. I feel like the games are out there and there's no script. I know every year, there's a script and the colors and like, I don't do that. I just watch the games. I enjoy them. It is what it is. And if coaches are doing that, then shame on them. But I wouldn't put it past coaches because they're human beings and maybe they're on the take. Maybe there's other extenuating circumstances that would make them do that. So I don't know. But I personally feel that this is not the WWE, right? They're not going out minutes before they hit the field and the refs are like, all right, so you're gonna do that. We need 2 interceptions. We need a fumble recovery. We need a pick. They're not doing that. They're not. That's too orchestrated for me, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think on that. All right, Joe Brady. I know I don't have that up here as a subject, as a topic, because when I made this, has already been done, and I wasn't gonna go back and fix it. But he is now anointed as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Joe Brady, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, he was the offensive coordinator for that really, really great LSU team that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase was on, and Justin Jefferson, if I'm not mistaken. He's been in Buffalo for quite some time now. From what I understand, from a little bit of I read, that Josh Allen was actually involved in the hiring process. They wanted to get his take on it. They wanted to see what his thoughts were on it. Is it somebody that he's worth? I mean, they have some familiarity, obviously, because he's there. He was offensive coordinator. People thought maybe Brian Daboll would have made an appearance back, but I think Brian Daboll took the job in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, as the offensive coordinator. So him and Robert Saleh will get things going there in Tennessee. But from Joe Brady, I mean, he seems very capable. Now, we'll see how it is now when you're the guy. For those of you who've never coached, whether it's at the youth level, high school, college, pro, whatever the case may be, man, it's different when you're a coordinator, when you're just a guy, than being the guy, right? Because how many coordinators do you see come up to the podium after games? Maybe they do, but I don't see them, right? Because I'm not in there. But it doesn't seem like the coordinators get interviewed quite a bit. It's the quarterbacks, ownership, depending on what team, and the head coach. So there's a lot that's going to come with this job because, Josh Allen has got a window here, and it's rapidly closing. If there was going to be a year he was going to make the Super Bowl, it was actually this year. They couldn't get it done. So Sean McDermott's out of there. I mean, listen, I'm okay with the firing because I think sometimes in life you got to freshen things up. It's a reason why spring cleaning was a thing, right? You got to let some new air come in. You got to get a new voice, and I think McDermott will be a head coach here somewhere else for sure. Maybe it was just his time to go. And when you look at that Bills organization, that was at Terry Pagullo. Was that his name, Terry Pagullo? That owner, he's batshit. I don't think he needs to be in front of a microphone in no time soon. And then I understand he's the owner of the Buffalo Sabres, who have made the playoffs in like 20-something years. And for those who don't know, the Buffalo Sabres were a very proud NHL hockey team way back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember that. Dominic Hasek was the goalie back then for the Buffalo Sabres, and now this guy's the owner. Not saying I'm not saying he's an idiot because he's a billionaire. I believe he made his money in oil. He's an oil tycoon or some shit like that. And those guys, maybe not so smart, but you got to have fucking balls as big as the fucking Golden Globes. Okay. But that guy probably does not need to be in front of a microphone. I will say that right now. Because that question that was asked about the whole Keon Coleman and when he made it seem like the coaching staff had forced them to draft him, and then you go back and watch the Hard Knocks and what's his name? Brandon Beam was like, yeah. I'm glad he ran that time. So Brandon Beam was on Keon Coleman too. So let's not get that twisted. But just like the Ravens situation, it was time to move on from John Harbaugh too. And maybe he found himself in a better situation, and maybe they found their guy in what's his name, Minter. We'll see how that goes. But Joe Brady, I mean, initial thoughts, other than the fact that I knew he was the coordinator for LSU, he's been a coordinator now for quite some time. I believe it's 1 or 2 years in Buffalo. We'll see how he handles being the guy. And will he call the plays himself, or will he delegate that? My thing is, and this goes back to, hey, what's up, Jazz? This goes back to the Jet situation too with Aaron Glenn. Like, what made Aaron Glenn a hot commodity was that he was a great defensive coordinator. Great, right? And then he goes to New York and he's not the defensive coordinator. He lets, what's the guy's name? Wilkes. And the defense sucked. So my thing is, if you and most offensive guys like this, I'm going to assume Joe Brady's probably going to call the plays. I think so. Rightfully so. I think he should. Because that's what makes you you. Now, he's going to have to understand, though, how to multitask or get a really good staff around him, like a defensive coordinator. Guys, because, listen, most offensive guys, especially offensive coaches, they don't really want to worry about defense. They don't really want to worry about special teams, right? Whereas defensive guys, in my opinion, they want their hands all over that stuff. Offensive guys just want to worry about offense, and that's it, right? So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. So, but is it a good hire? I don't know. I don't know how much due diligence they went out and did. I mean, I don't think has Mike Tomlin even interviewed for any job. I think Mike Tomlin's just chilling. He resigned. He's like, I'm cool, man. I know I can get a gig if I want one. But Clint Kubiak definitely is gonna have some interest after this game. Next week Sunday, the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll see, because you still got the Raiders job available. You still got my Miami hired their guy, the Browns, which I don't even think anybody wants to go to Cleveland at this point. So I think the Raiders are a little bit more appetizing than the Cleveland Browns. So Steelers got their guy, Falcons got their guy. Really, I think it's just the Browns and the Raiders. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Is there what other jobs are vacant right now? I can't think off the top of my head. So Giants got their guy. Arizona. Arizona hasn't hired a coach, and I don't think anybody wants to go there either. So to me, the Raiders probably the best bet right now at this point. You got the number 1 pick. You'll have some cash. You'll have Tom Brady somewhere in the organization versus the Browns. And let's be real, the Browns really ain't that good. So speaking of the Browns, and I'll wrap up the conversation here on YouTube, and I'll switch over to TikTok. What are you guys' thoughts on Shedeur Sanders making the Pro Bowl? I for one think it's a joke. And not because he made the Pro Bowl. I think the Pro Bowl has been a joke for quite some time now. The transition from the tackle game to this flag game is, I don't know. It's weird. And then this guy, he makes his Pro Bowl. Like, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And he makes a Pro Bowl? And I get he's a replacement, but if you got to go that far down to find a replacement, then you know what, man? The game don't even need to be played at that point. This reminds me of a couple years ago, too, when Tyler Huntley, Snoop Huntley, who was with the Ravens then, he was a replacement quarterback in the Pro Bowl. And just, I don't know, man. I feel like just get rid of the game, period. The Pro Bowl just sucks. I used to love watching it growing up when they played it in the Aloha Stadium, and the guys, you know, I mean, they weren't going all out, but I mean, they would tackle each other. It was fun, you know. I'll never forget the Sean Taylor. He blasted that punter, you know, and but they switched the flag, and it's just I don't know, man. I don't want to sound like this. Like, I mean, I'm 42, and I don't want to sound like this old man, get off my grass. But I feel like, what are we doing? Even I mean, to me, the only meaningful, and I really don't watch a lot of hockey All-Star, but I feel like baseball is probably still like a palatable All-Star game. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. But the way it's going right now, the NFL just needs to really just say, we're not doing it. We're just going to say, this is the Pro Bowl list, and that's that. And or play the game after. Why does it got to be before the Super Bowl? Like, but I think guys now, they're like, it's kind of like a hassle to them. They're like, I don't want to do this shit. We're not even going to Hawaii anymore. We're going to like where's it being played this year? I don't even know where it's being played, to be honest with you. You know, they did it in Vegas once. Maybe that's a good spot, but I don't know. I think it's garbage. And it's no offense to Shador, because, I mean, listen, I think he can play in the National Football League. Is he this, like, oh my God, a generational talent? No, I don't think so. And other people will say I'm hating on him because he's a black man and blah, 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 whatever. You know, they want to throw race into this shit. But he's not a Pro Bowler, folks. And if you as a person thinks that he is a Pro Bowler, then honestly, we can't even have a conversation. It's not even worth my time talking about it, because you're gone. You're gone. And I'll just leave it at that, respectfully. If you think he's a Pro Bowler, my God, I really, really, really don't understand that. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, man. Well, that's the show here on YouTube, man. I'm going to transition over to TikTok. So if you guys want to check me out there, for those that are in TikTok, man, appreciate you guys, man. Let's keep the likes going, man. I'm stuck at 1.9K. Let's get over 2,000, man. Let's keep it going, maybe. The more likes, I'll stay on. We'll chat some more football. But other than that, man, I will be back the week of Super Bowl. I'm going to take next week off. So no NFL matchups next week unless I hop on TikTok. So we'll take the week off. We'll come back the week of Super Bowl. We'll break down the game and see whatever else is popping off from between now and then. And we'll get things back on track for the final game of the year. So that's it. So other than that, man, appreciate you guys for hopping on here. Like I would say, man, this is your boy Ryan Flowers, a.k.a. Clutch Sports Talk. Never settle till the work is done. I'll see you guys. Peace.
Clutch Sports Talk. Let's go.